Today we're doing a quick video on 3 of my favorite books of all time. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Hexes and Horrors. So like my last couple videos, this one is not a spooky video. I guess one of the books could tie into that kind of true crime spooky genre, but these are just my 3 top favorite books of all time. When people ask me what my favorite books are, these are the 3 books that I give them. So let's get into it. I'm kind of ranking these in order from least to most favorite out of the top 3. And the first one is The Art of Racing in the Rain. This is by Garth Stein. I did read this probably over 7 years ago, and I honestly don't know if I could read it again, but it just sticks in my mind, and I loved it so much when I did read it that it's one of my favorite books. There is a children's version as well. I forget the title of that one because it's slightly different, but it's just the same story in a kid-friendly version. But this one just sent me into hysterics because, well, I won't tell you how the book opens up, but it's a little bit traumatic, and the story is essentially told from a dog's point of view. So all my dog-loving friends out there, because I know there are a lot of you, it will absolutely crush you. If you haven't read this book and you're a dog lover or an animal lover, a pet lover, you definitely should give it a read. It's such a good book, but it is a sad book. You know, coming from the dog's point of view, he talks a lot in the book about things that he does that are just, you know, showing love towards his owners that they mistake for something else, and then he gets punished for them or in trouble for them or yelled at, and the whole time he's just trying to give them the most affection he can. It's a pretty sad read, I do have to say, but also a really good and a really important one for any pet owner. So The Art of Racing in the Rain, this is my first out of my 3 favorite books. I'm gonna read the inside cover and try not to cry. It's a little long, so just bear with me. There's only 3 books in this video though, so the entire video is not super long, so just stay with me. Enzo knows he is different from other dogs, a philosopher with a nearly human soul, and an obsession with opposable thumbs. He has educated himself by watching television extensively and by listening very closely to the words of his master, Denny Swift, an up-and-coming race car driver. Through Denny, Enzo has gained tremendous insight into the human condition, and he sees that life, like racing, isn't simply about going fast. Using the techniques needed on the racetrack, one can successfully navigate all of life's ordeals. On the eve of his death, Enzo takes stock of his life, recalling all that he and his family have been through. The sacrifices Denny has made to succeed professionally, the unexpected loss of Eve, Denny's wife, the 3-year battle over their daughter Zoe, whose maternal grandparents pulled every string to gain custody. In the end, despite what he sees as his own limitations, Enzo comes through historically to preserve the Swift family, holding in his heart the dream that Denny will become a racing champion with Zoe at his side. Having learned what it takes to be a compassionate and successful person, the wise canine can barely wait until his next lifetime when he is sure he will return as a man. A heart-wrenching but deeply funny and ultimately uplifting story of family, love, loyalty, and hope. The Art of Racing in the Rain is a beautifully crafted and captivating look at the wonders and absurdities of human life, as only a dog could tell it. This book is so good. If you have a dog, or ever had a dog, or ever want to have a dog, or any kind of family pet, please read this book. Next up, we have The Girls by Emma Cline. I read this not too long ago, within the last 5 or 6 years, and I can't wait to read this book again sometime soon. This book was so good, in my opinion. It was pretty popular when it first came out. It's a book about a girl growing up, sort of coming to age in California. The book's focus is really on her, again, coming of age, growing from a girl into a woman, things she experiences in her daily life as a girl, but kind of around that story, like always on the peripheral, it does tie in and kind of is surrounded by the Manson family. So Charles Manson, the Manson murders. It's not about that or those crimes. It's about, again, this girl growing up, but she just so happens to be growing up in that same part of California. She ends up becoming part of the Manson family, gets to know a lot of the other women in the family, cult, whatever you want to call it. She gets to know Charles Manson a little bit. And then she does get out of that situation and grow up and live her life. She kind of leaves the family right before that happens, and the murders themselves. He knew all of the people involved. So I thought it was a really good book because it was kind of about true crime and the Manson case without really being about it. Emma Cline wrote this in such a clever way where it's actually not a horror or a thriller or a mystery or any of those things. Like I said, it's about a girl coming of age, but she somehow kind of weaved it into that genre almost. I'm going to read the back of the cover just to kind of give you a better idea because I can't really explain it so well. I feel like you have to read it to know what I'm talking about. But so the back says, Northern California during the violent end of the 1960s. At the start of summer, teenager Evie Boyd sees a group of girls in the park and is immediately strucken by their freedom, their careless dress, their dangerous aura of abandon. Soon, Evie is in thrall to Suzanne, a mesmerizing older girl, and drawn into the circle of a soon-to-be infamous cult and the man who is its charismatic leader. The group's sprawling ranch is eerie and run down, but to Evie it is exotic, thrilling, charged. A place where she feels desperate to be accepted. As she spends more time away from her mother and the rhythms of her daily life, and as her obsession with Suzanne intensifies, Evie does not realize she is coming closer and closer to unthinkable violence, and to that moment in a girl's life when everything can go horribly wrong. So, like I said, she gets intertwined with the Manson family, and you get to hear from her perspective, or kind of the perspective of someone who was part of the family, but it's fiction. I guess it's kind of like historical fiction in a way, which I thought was pretty cool, and I thought it was really well done, because like I said, you're learning about all these people and what life was like being in the Manson family, but it doesn't specifically touch on the crimes or the murders. It kind of veers away from that. So sort of using the Manson cult as this backdrop for this girl growing up and growing from a girl into a woman. I thought it was very cool, very cleverly written, very well done, and obviously since I love true crime, it was right up my alley. So The Girls by Emma Cline is my second favorite book ever, and on to number 1. All right, drum roll please. My very favorite number 1 top book of all time is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. This book just touched my soul. I don't know what it was. This book was incredible, incredibly written, an incredible story. It's a true story. The main character of the book is kind of struggling with her home life. They live in poverty. They live moving from place to place, never having enough to eat. Her parents are sort of wild, free-spirited, never concerned with feeding the family or, staying in one place, settling down. They're just concerned with kind of trying to keep moving. And so one of the daughters in the family eventually escapes, or not, she grows up, she saves her money, she gets out, sets up a successful life and career for herself as a writer. I went to school for journalism before I became a teacher, so that part was also sort of aligned with things that I'm interested in. They did also make a movie out of this book with Woody Harrelson as the father. It was really well done. I think it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's still there, but I highly, highly recommend reading this book. My favorite book in the world. I'll read the back for you just in case you are interested in reading it. The Glass Castle is a remarkable memoir of resilience and redemption and a revelatory look into a family at once deeply dysfunctional and uniquely vibrant. When sober, Jeanette's brilliant and charismatic father captured his children's imagination, teaching them physics, geology, and how to embrace life fearlessly. But when he drank, he was dishonest and destructive. Her mother was a free spirit who abhorred the idea of domesticity and didn't want the responsibility of raising a family. The Walls children learned to take care of themselves. They fed, clothed, and protected one another, and eventually found their way to New York. Their parents followed them, choosing to be homeless even as their children prospered. The Glass Castle is truly astonishing, a memoir permeated by the intense love of a peculiar but loyal family. It's just an incredible story and an incredible journey, but it reads like fiction, so it's a pretty easy read. I highly recommend you check out The Glass Castle if you haven't already read this book. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what is your favorite book or your top 3 favorite books. Have you read any of these 3 books and what did you think of them? Make sure to let me know in the comments and like and subscribe if you have not already. I hope you enjoyed a little look at my favorite reads, and I'll see you guys next time.